How's it, guys? This is Davey FPL and welcome back to another Deadline with Davey live stream. Hopefully you guys enjoyed your international break, but get those legs stretched because we're going back into the thick of the action with Gameweek 5 over here. Relatively quiet game week for myself over this international break. Not made many transfers up until about yesterday night when we got this news of KDB missing out. Still don't have news on Sterling. Pep Guardiola kind of talked about Kevin De Bruyne, but not really much about Sterling, so hopefully he's fine. But we ended up making that move from KDB to Son last night. Confirmed it over on my Twitter page. And as I said in the team selection video, he's going to be the captain then. If I was going to bring in Son, I definitely was looking to captain him. If you are looking for a replacement for KDB, I would highly suggest looking at your captaincy, because the nice thing about this game week, although it is a tough game week from a captaincy point of view, KDB is just so expensive that basically you can bring in anyone, and if you want to captain them, you can, and that's exactly what I've done here. I wanted to bring in Son anyway. I kind of made a little bit of a plan for next game week to take a 3 transfer -4. I was going to save the transfer this game week, but unfortunately, I've had to use it on Son, but I wanted him anyway. So I'm relatively happy with the team. Overall, the defense is not looking too great. You can see there Coleman and TAA basically hoping for a clean sheet there. The reason why I went with Coleman over Walker-Peters is I just think that because I don't have a Liverpool attacker now, I can kind of hope for maybe an Everton clean sheet. Holding thumbs, not really holding thumbs because I hope Liverpool win in the end. But a 0-0 will kind of be perfect for my FPL team. The bad cab asking how much in the bank. We currently have 3.6 in the bank. So yeah, that's not that few as we've been having in the past couple. The team values are looking too great, but with 3.6, we can kind of do whatever we want. And the main reason why I wanted some cash in the bank is my current transfer plan for next game week is going to be taking Timo Werner down to Calvert-Lewin and then upgrading Harvey Barnes to Salah/Mane. It just kind of depends on how the game against Everton goes. I really want Mane because he is kind of lowly owned, a low ownership for him. I think it's currently about 7%, 6%, and Salah because just he's probably the better option in the long term and everyone kind of owns him. So I have just enough money to do that move. So I might have to do it tonight if the price rises are going to kind of cause Calvert-Lewin or Salah to rise. But I will confirm that over my Twitter, as I said. So hopefully you guys are good. I'm pretty sure there's going to be tons of questions about KDB and kind of captainers. So if you guys do have them, just put them in the chat below and we kind of can answer them. James saying Mane is now COVID-proof too. So I think I'm no kind of doctor, but that probably should be right unless there have been some strains that have been coming up. So some people have been getting, I think the first person in America got it for the second time or something like that. But that could be a point to go by, but then also Salah's penalty. So you kind of have to weigh up the options there. Best captaincy choice, Salah/Son, asks Ross Wilson. So I'll probably talk about captaincy right now then and kind of give you a grand overview of what my kind of thoughts are on the whole captaincy decision. As I said, this game week is a very tough game week to go by because a lot of the premium assets don't have that good fixtures. So just think about Sterling, KDB. Obviously, he's injured, so don't include him. But they play Arsenal, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Salah, Mane play Everton. Then you also have Aubameyang playing Man City. So not that good of options. And I mean, West Ham, although it's probably a better fixture on paper, right now West Ham are playing quite well. So I definitely think that the Spurs assets are where you should be looking. However, I do think Salah is just so consistent. I think that game's going to be quite a close one, though. I'm almost in two minds about it. One side of my brain is thinking neither side can defend currently. Both sides have a really good attack, so it could be a high-scoring game. But then the other side of me is saying, realistically, neither Everton or Liverpool want to lose this game, so they might just play out till a kind of like a 1-1 or a 0-0 draw. So I know that's kind of really ambiguous there because it's basically both scenarios are covered. But I just don't really know what to kind of predict with how unpredictable this season has been. So Salah is a safe option. I don't think there's too much about that whole don't captain a player in the first game because it's a two-sided coin. One side of things, if he goes and bangs the rest of the weekend, you're going to be like, why didn't I captain Salah? But then if he doesn't bang, you also have that regret. So, I mean, it's a two-sided coin. If he does well, you're happy. If you don't, you're not happy. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. But I definitely think that if you don't have a Spurs asset, I would go for a Liverpool asset as my captain. You could also go for maybe someone like a Timo Werner. I think that Timo Werner is going to do quite well this week. Even like a Raul Jimenez, you could also go for them. Maybe even a Calvert-Lewin if you want to be kind of really out there. But I think that maybe I would stick to a Liverpool or Spurs asset. So my current kind of favorite would be if I had Son or Salah, I probably would still go Son. I just don't think that game's going to be as open maybe as people think. But I predicted last week that Basuma's not going to do too well. And he ended up getting a goal in the last minute. So what do I know, kind of. A Kane/Son, I would probably go for Kane if I was on like a wild card or if I had unlimited transfers or something like that. So in a perfect world, I would go with Kane. But just because of my current team structure, and I think the team structures that most people have, I think that Son is probably a more realistic option for most of us. And that's why I've also gone for Son. But in a perfect world, on a wild card, I would probably prefer Kane. Karan Nandi, thank you for becoming a member. Hopefully you enjoy those emotes and spamming F when I don't have a good game week. Lesedi saying, will Mane start or be benched? So I want to say I'm probably 90% sure that Mane will start this week. He's been in training. There's nothing wrong with him. The only thing that might be a little bit of a hindrance is the form that Diego Jota has been in for Portugal. So he's also been playing quite well. So if there's any doubt around Mane, Diego Jota can just slot in there quite easily. But I do think that Mane will play this week. So I don't think you have to be too worried about that, Lesedi. So I don't think I'd be too worried. And thanks again to Karan for becoming a member. I really do appreciate it. A Salah or Son or Jimenez, Kane for captain. I would go for Kane. As I said, Kane is probably my favorite captaincy option this week. As Sam Elliott's asking there, will Bale start tomorrow? So there have been some rumors over on Twitter, I checked this morning, about how Bale is potentially going to be starting. A lot of reports are coming out that he's going to be starting against West Ham, which is going to be really exciting. The interesting thing for me is going to be to see how Spurs set up, because right now it seems like almost playing like Kevin De Bruyne, Harry Kane is dropping something a little bit deeper and playing that through ball over the top to Son. So almost playing like a centre forward playoff role. Whereas now with Bale coming in, I think they almost might set up with Son and Bale up top, with Kane more as like a CF. So it's going to be really interesting because, in a perfect world, probably Harry Kane and is going to be wanting to get on the end of some crosses from Gareth Bale. But it's up to Jose Mourinho, kind of. How much do you have in the bank? I've got 3.6 in the bank. Short-term memory loss, but I am correct there. So, 3.6 in the bank. I just did a free it, says Aiden. That's quite interesting game week to free it. Maybe if you want to keep De Bruyne, that could be it. But, quite an interesting decision there, Aiden. Is KDB really injured? Could be mind games from Pep. So Kurt Cobain, that is true. But right now, I kind of have to go off the information that I have. I'm going to be really salty and angry if KDB actually does start. That also depends if Son obviously does well, then I'm going to be happy either way. But if Pep came out and said that he's injured and then he starts, I'm just basically going to be like, we have to deal with what we have in front of us. Some things are just unpredictable. The season is already unpredictable, so now we have managers lying about injuries. There's not much I can do on that, unfortunately. So it's just something I'm going to have to take on the chin there, Kurt. Will Zaha play? So I thought that Zaha will play, but apparently he also has a little bit of a knock. So I'm a little bit unsure on that on the whole front, because a knock can mean that a player on a Saturday or a Sunday training session in the morning manages to recover from it and then they're fine. It's a really hard one to go by, but if I did have him in my team, I probably would start him. But if it is something that you're worried about and you're on a wild card, for example, then I would probably leave it. It's kind of a situation where you don't buy, you don't transfer out. Do you think Fernan Torres is a good call? So with Aguero and Jesus, it seems like they're not exactly ready to be back. So I do think that Fernan Torres has a high likeliness of starting, because I think with KDB out, they might have to fill in maybe a Bernardo Silva at cam or something like that. So I think Fernan Torres could be a good call, but I think right now with City, it's more of a wait and see with me. If you're on a wild card and you want to take a punt on him, then maybe do it. But I think there are other options around that price bracket that are a little bit more nailed to start and could be some better performers. Taylor or Justin to bench, I think you have to probably go. That's a really tough one to kind of say, because Leicester have been playing badly, but they can also rebound from that. But I would probably play Taylor in that case. It's not a perfect kind of defensive partnership, Taylor or Justin, because I think West Brom will score in this one. West Brom can't defend, but they can attack pretty well. So I think that I wouldn't be expecting too much from Taylor or Justin, but I think you're probably going to go with Taylor just because of the form that Aston Villa have been on. Roy Hodgson on whether Zaha, I hope so. It was scanned and there was no sign of any sort of grade tear in that scan. So it's really a question of if it feels that he's recovered sufficiently, says Optimus Prime. So thanks a lot for dropping that. That's obviously talking about Zaha there. So it seems like it's not an injury. It's just a little bit of maybe some muscle fatigue there. So if he recovers from it, he will be playing. Kane/Salah for captaincy. So I personally would go for Kane, but I think that Salah is also a good safe captaincy option to go by. But I think with the form that Spurs have been in, it's a little bit hard to ignore a captaincy on them. Podence or Trossard? I probably would go for Trossard, but just because of the fact that Podence, we don't even know if Podence is going to start. So that's yet to be seen of if he's going to be nailed in that lineup, whereas Trossard is basically guaranteed to start. So I would 100% just go for Trossard. I just want to take a... Sorry guys, I just take a sip of water there. It's a little bit hot here in SA today. Enjoyed your international break. I didn't actually enjoy the international break. I actually had my test week. I finished my test week yesterday on Friday. So I kind of had a nice little break to study and just focused on academics for a little bit. But now that's all over and FPL's taken over. So that's my main priority at the moment. Aiden Lewis, pretty much the final team, 100%. I think there's going to be no changes that I make to this. If someone has news about potentially maybe that Sterling is going to be out, we could maybe look at that. But I don't think there's going to be too much news before that Liverpool deadline. So, Aiden, this will be the final team. So if you have to go and do something else, you can. Vincent saying you alleged electricity outages. So, Vincent, they actually stole my electricity cables last week. So if I streamed, I wouldn't be able to stream last week, but luckily that got repaired, so I was able to stream. Tom James saying Jimenez against Leeds, love that fixture, attempted to take a punt and captain him. Thoughts? Didn't have the money to go KDB to Salah, so brought in Son instead. So if you brought in Son, I really do like the Son captain. I like the Raul Jimenez captain as well, but I just think Wolves attacking wise, and because Leeds have been quite good, it's a little bit more risky. So I probably favor Son a little bit more their time. But I do think if you go for Jimenez, it could be quite a punt. Werner or Jimenez for Kane? Oh, so if you want to bring in Kane, I can understand that. I would probably say take Werner out. I would only do that move if you want to really captain Kane, though. Otherwise, I think Werner and Raul Jimenez can have a good game week this week. Aguero to start, that could be. I think a lot of people were predicting that he would start, but then I saw on Twitter last night there was an injury update for him that said he was on 75%. So I don't know if something new has come out, but I would hope if Aguero starts, that's going to be another kind of thing to contemplate, because I really do like Aguero. Pulisic plus 4.5 on the bench, or Rodriguez plus Souček on the bench. So there's not too much in that one. I think right now with Pulisic, I would probably wait a game week. I wouldn't bring him in this game week because I don't know if he's going to start. You kind of want to see if he plays a full 90 minutes. That just gives you that more confidence that he has that match fitness to start, and the injury isn't there kind of worrying him anymore. So it's a really tough call, Vincent, this week to do, because obviously Rodriguez also has Liverpool, so it's not too good. But if you're on a wild card, I probably would just go for Pulisic, as long as you have Calvert-Lewin up top. If you don't have any Everton cover, then James Rodriguez is a good call. Sterling's likely to pay from what I read on Twitter and going to captain him. Okay, that's a really nice captain as well. I'm actually happy because if KDB's out, at least I still have Sterling as a kind of Man City coverage, because Man City are just that team where they could play terribly one game week, but then next game week they look quite good. Karan saying, what about Havertz captain? So Karan, maybe just post your other captaincy options in your team in a comment. So say if you have Salah, Son, Kane or whatever, and then I'll compare them to your own team. There, thanks Karan. My opinion, Pulisic will start and Ziyech will replace him at 65 minutes. So I think that's kind of the general consensus. Is people think that Pulisic is having a better chance of starting than Ziyech. Akash saying, hey Davey, why not get Salah for Sterling? I have a feeling he'll come on at half time if City are in a tough spot. So I'm kind of just banking on Sterling doing well. I don't really want to take a -4 hit for Salah unless I was going to captain him, but I'm pretty set on the Son captain. So I don't want to take a -4 hit because Sterling still has the potential to start the game. And I think if Sterling does better than Salah, I'm just going to regret it as well. Obviously, Salah can do quite well as well, but I just think for my own personal team, I really don't want to take another hit this week because the hits have kind of been what's costing me recently. I removed Chilwell and replace James with Sterling. So I wouldn't really remove Chilwell. As far as I know, apparently he does have a chance of starting. So I wouldn't take out Chilwell for now. And that's all saying, chat, hit the like button. So that would be appreciated if you guys can smash that like button. Please update about Zaha and Vardy injuries, mate. So I think it's a similar situation with both these two players. It's not really like injuries, it's more almost fatigue. I know Vardy has this kind of hip thing that he's dealing with, but I don't think it's a hip injury this time. But I think both of them have a chance of starting. I probably think it's about a 75% chance to start. And if they do, you kind of just keep them. So if you have them in your team, just start them. Unless you have like maybe 2 free transfers and then you can just take Vardy out and bring him in next game week. I would only, unless you don't have any fires to put out, I would probably just keep Vardy and Zaha and just hope they play. Davey, how much do you have in the bank? I've got 3.6 in the bank. Basuma or Saint, I probably would start Saint Maximum. He's been playing quite well. You know, Gucci, one of my favorite players, not really favorite from the start of the season because he didn't do that well. But as soon as I take him out, he starts performing. But I think I would definitely go for Saint Maximum this one. Man United haven't been playing well defensively, so definitely you can get something from that. Evan saying, hey man, what do you think of a -4 for Chilwell from James, Justin / Ben Davies? Okay, so you want to bring Chilwell in this week. I don't think I would do the -4 this week because I just think that from an attacking point of view, Southampton aren't that terrible. So it's going to be quite hard to repay that hit just this game week. So I probably would just keep it and then make it next game week for a free transfer. Would you take a -4 to Albert, to Salah or Sterling? Squad value going down. So what I would do, time, is if you want to captain Salah or Sterling, then I would do it. But then otherwise, I probably would just leave it. Now, Aubameyang has a good potential to score against Man City. I mean, they haven't been the defensive titan that they usually have been in previous seasons. So I definitely think Aubameyang can get something out of this game. It just depends on how Arsenal set up. So you probably know how Arsenal are going to set up. I personally think that they're probably going to park the bus against Man City. But that doesn't mean that Aubameyang can't score out of it. Karan saying my options are Werner, Havertz, Jimenez, Rashford, and Son. I probably would favor Son then, Karan. But I think Havertz is also, it's more of a differential punt, but I think that Son will still be quite differential. I think the captaincy will be pretty split between Son, Kane, and Salah this week. Probably Salah taking the cake though with the ownership. If Timo does well this week, will you still take him out next week? I probably would. If you look at Chelsea's fixtures, I'm not going to say it's like 100% that I definitely will or won't take him out. But the fact is that if he does start at that striker position with Pulisic and Ziyech on either side, that's going to be quite tempting, to be honest. And I mean, in terms of their fixtures, they play United up next, which I don't think is the worst fixture in the world. Then it's Burnley and Sheffield. So, I mean, could potentially keep him. It all actually depends on how I see Everton playing today, because Everton's fixtures also aren't the best in the world. They've got Liverpool now, Southampton, Newcastle, United. Then these next 3 are quite nice though. So I could always just maybe not go for Calvert-Lewin. Start Brewster over James. I probably would start James because I think with the fullbacks, it's kind of, if they don't start, they probably won't come on. I think that might be quite an ignorant statement, but I think from most of my football knowledge, it doesn't make that much sense to bring on James, especially if they're doing quite well. I'll stick with Havertz though, Karan saying. That's quite, okay, so good luck with that. That's quite a differential captain. I doubt many people will be going for that. Sterling or Mane. I think I'm going to favor Mane, but that's just because of bias, because I just like Mane. But I think from the fixture point of view, Mane is probably favored in that case. So I would go for Mane instead of Sterling. As Optimus Prime saying, deadline in 6 minutes, so get those teams in. For me, it's currently 7 minutes, so just make sure you get those teams in. The hype saying Salah for Mane for a -4. I definitely wouldn't be doing that. It's just a little bit of a sideways move. Unless you really want to captain Salah and you think Salah's going to do a lot better than Mane, but for a hit, it's a little bit sideways for me. Juice is saying, I can get Pulisic, but then I'll only have 3 defenders to start and others. So go for him or keep James Rodriguez. I'm on a wild card. So if you're on a wild card, I don't think I would only be having 3 defenders who start because that's a little bit risky for me. So maybe kind of adjust your team around it a little bit. If it means not having Pulisic, then I think that's worth it because I wouldn't just have 3 playing defenders. Who would you bring in for Ben Davies? Chilwell. So currently Spurs have West Ham. I don't think Davies will start, but he could. I think it's maybe like a 40% chance that he starts. So I can understand why you want to take him out. If you're looking for I think he's currently 5 mil that you want to bring in a player. If you can afford Chilwell, that's probably the move I would do. So as you said, you've recommended Chilwell there. So I think that's pretty decent kind of upgrade to go for. Robbo and Watkins or DCL and Lamptey. So it's a really tough situation that you're in there because I think with DCL, it's a little bit hard to ignore. And that's why I kind of wanted to give it another game week to just adjust it to see how kind of Everton are setting up against maybe some of the tougher opposition. If you had to ask me, I probably would say Robbo and Watkins on paper, but I think you kind of need some Everton coverage with how well they're playing. But I probably would just lean towards Robbo and Watkins, to be honest, though, because of the tougher upcoming fixtures for Everton. Although, I mean, if they do well against Liverpool, I think they can do well against any team. I got in Greenwood as a differential 2 game weeks ago. Do I hold on to him or transfer him out? So, Manash, you definitely hold on to him, especially because Martial's out with a suspension for, I think, the next 3 game weeks. So I would definitely keep Greenwood because I think he's going to definitely start. And I mean, he's cheap enough to kind of not have to score every single game week and still be worth it. What are your thoughts on Mitro? Keep him and hope for a good return or move to DCL and Ings. So if you have the money to afford those like I do, I currently have the money to afford Mitrovic to maybe like a Calvert-Lewin if I want. I could do that move, but the fact of the matter is I think Fulham have some really nice fixtures coming up. And I definitely will probably hold him until that West Bromwich Albion game. I just think he's cheap enough to kind of take the punt on. Ownership has dropped massively, so he's not that highly owned anymore. And I mean, West Brom, it's a championship club. They're used to playing against each other. And Mitrovic has had so many shots recently. One of the top shots in the Prem at the moment, I think. That's kind of Fulham's game plan. They just pass to Mitrovic and hope that he scores. Should I start Reece James or Justin? I would start... it's a tough one. I probably would start Justin in that case. I just think that Southampton are a better attacking side than maybe Aston Villa. I want to kind of say that, but it could be wrong. So that's a really tough spot to be in. I actually think I probably will go back on what I said. I think I would just start Reece James. If he doesn't start, so be it. But I think Reece James probably has a better attacking return than Justin does. FPL aside, what are your thoughts on Leeds United this season? Where do you think they'll finish? So I really like Leeds. I think they're kind of the team that just goes for it. I think kind of the best representation we'll look at halfway through the season because with that style that they play of a very constant press, it usually ties the team out towards the end of the season. So if they can make it to the half of the season in a relatively good spot, I definitely think they are looking like a mid-table side though right now. They could challenge for those topper spots, but I think over the longevity of the season, they probably will peter out a little bit and finish around that top table, but more like down towards the middle half. Is Pulisic going to play? I can't tell you that, unfortunately. I'm not Frank Lampard, but I think he does have a chance of starting. I think he'll definitely come off the bench. But I think that he does have a chance of at least getting some minutes. Devin Little saying, lack of weather for a good game week. Podence not a worry, so it's very hot here. Kind of battling a little bit with the heat, but Podence not a worry. Podence is a worry, but I think I'm willing to kind of just play him and hope for the best. It's going to be interesting to see the formation that Wolves play because I think that's going to dictate whether Podence starts in the future. But I think that it's worth me just holding him because he does have leads. Reece James or Saiss? I probably would go for Reece James just because of the attacking output there. I always kind of favor a fullback to a centre-back. Is Castagne good to have? Apologies if I'm butchering that name. I definitely think so. He looks like a real player. Almost like a winger converted to a right-back, left-back kind of situation that I really do like. And he looks a great shot to go for. Salah or Son captain. Salah if you want to be safe. Son if you want to go a little bit more differential. I personally, if I had both of them, I probably would still go for Son just because I think it's a better fixture. Interesting to see is going to be more captain, Salah, Son, or Kane. I definitely think that Salah is going to be the most highly captain player this week. And then I think it'll probably be Son and then Kane because Son is cheaper. So naturally more people want to get him because he's cheaper. There's 2 minutes left on my clock, so maybe 1 minute left by the time you hear this. So please get those teams in and confirmed. Let me actually just refresh the page quickly so we can just make sure that everything is intact and ready to go for Game Week 5. Hopefully a green arrow this week. That would be quite nice. Werner or Son for captain. So I personally would go for Son there. I still think that Werner will do quite well, but I think that Son is a little bit more safe. Kane or Son for captain, I would go for Kane captain. If you have both of them, I think Kane's the better option, has penalties, and he seems to be in a better form. Thoughts on Mane for captain Lassetti? I do like it. I mean, if you're going to captain Salah, you could captain Mane as well. That's to me as an equal kind of combination. Of course, Salah has the penalties, but Mane personally for me has looked the better player when he has started. So if people are going to captain Salah, Mane is a perfectly good option as well. Ryan or McCarthy to bench. I probably would go for Ryan, definitely. I mean, McCarthy has Chelsea, whereas Ryan, I think, plays against Crystal Palace. So that's definitely a kind of a no-brainer for me. Do you think James is going to play? He might. Kind of the speculation that's been around is that in the tougher games, Azpilicueta might play there, but then in the lesser games where they need more of an attacking threat, maybe against a side that parks the bus a little bit, then I think Reece James will play. But 100% the deadline unfortunately has passed, guys. So hopefully you guys managed to get your teams in and your questions asked before the deadline. But this is the team we're going to be going for, so hopefully Son does quite well. I think it's going to be quite a hit or miss game week this week. The potential lineup that I have on the screen here doesn't look too bad, but then, I mean, if Podence doesn't start, it's going to look quite bad because then maybe Walker-Peters comes off the bench. From a defensive point of view, Coleman and Alexander play each other, which isn't the best for a game week, but maybe if it's a 0-0, we'll be looking quite good. But thanks to you a lot for joining the stream, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it, and hopefully we all get a green arrow this week so we can go into game week 6 absolutely buzzing. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys, and hopefully the football's good. I'm going to be signing off. It's been Davey FPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.